Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack here on the Fantasy Six Pack network of podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, all other sorts of great places. It's Free Agents Frenzy, and we're going to have a frenzy of an episode here, starting with this intro. Hello. Another Wednesday night here on the Fantasy Six Pack Network. This is the Dynasty Six Pack. And of course, wherever you're listening, whether it's on podcast form, please rate, review, subscribe. Of course, anywhere you're at. Same with on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up as well. Do you subscribe? Join us in the chat too. And that could be comments after the fact if you're rewatching this. But if you are live, well, we are live. I mean, that's what it says here in this comment from my great co-host Jamie / great commenter Jamie. Yes, we are live indeed. So if you want to interact with us live, Albert's joining us. What's up, fellas? Albert was here last week again. Albert's a great supporter of fantasy football content. Joins a lot of streams live, so you can too. Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. Catch us live and interact with us if you will. FantasySixPack.com, also a great website. Lots of great resources for fantasy sports, not just fantasy football. Naturally, Jamie and I are big football fans. We'll focus on fantasy football, specifically Dynasty, which is, again, why we're called the Dynasty Six Pack. But enough for me. Kyle Senra, by the way, that's me. But we'll get to my co-host, Jamie Perog. How you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here. You know me, I love talking some Dynasty, especially with smart guys like you. So let's get this started.
Man, I'm two guys. That's how smart I am. I talk enough for two people, probably. So, but yes,
you got a lot of good stuff to say.
A lot of discourse. I mean, there's also the Fantasy Six Pack Discord, different channels there. But for tonight, again, free agency frenzy. It's going to be wild. It's crazy. We did an episode last week. We focused a lot on the wide receivers, also some trades. So, a couple of the quarterback trades. Browns made a quarterback trade. Don't even focus any more on that than we did there. But this week, we're going to focus a lot on quarterback contracts that were signed, as well as the running back and tight end positions. The going for two shirt says it, though. No kickers, Jamie. We're not talking kickers tonight. And going for two shirt is appropriate, place where we met and started interacting. But we are also going for two trades of the week this week. So believe it or not, there will be two trades of the week. I don't know if I'm doing this too many times. Peace and love to everyone. But we'll get right into the news just because a packed episode. And there is some kind of really breaking news that just happened this week. So naturally, this is a wide receiver. This happened but in time for last episode, we would have mentioned it then. But worth mentioning now, Stefon Diggs signing a 3-year, $69 million contract. That's a $23 million average per year. That's a pretty nice amount of money for a guy coming off a torn ACL. But the New England Patriots decided they just needed Diggs. So Stefon Diggs to the Patriots. What do you think, Jamie?
I kind of like the move for Drake May. As long as Diggs doesn't complain that he's not getting targets, even though he's probably going to get 300 targets because there's no one really else on the team. But that is a heck of a lot of money to spend when you're building a team like the Patriots. Like, why not just go out and draft some guys, spend the money on the offensive line, and just get some fresh receivers in there? Diggs, what was it, a 3-year, 4-year?
3-year deal.
3-year deal. So he's going to be, 35 by the time the contract's up? It just doesn't make sense to me for a rebuild.
Is he already 32, really?
I think he'll be close to 32 when the season starts.
Interesting.
It's just, I mean, I just don't see why they would pay all that money to him when they have other needs. And I don't know. I was hoping they would draft a guy in the second round, move up into the.
I mean, they could still do that. They could still take a guy in the second round. Right? This doesn't necessarily preclude them. As you mentioned, like there's no one around them. So the Patriots kind of probably needed to add multiple facets to wide receiver. And I believe they had the most cap space entering this offseason. So, I mean, in theory, this is how you want to use it. The 3-year contract and how big it is. This is essentially the same deal that Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was 3 years, $66 million. So just a little bit less, but almost essentially the same amount. So it's that's fascinating.
And is Diggs going to be healthy in the beginning of the season?
Yeah.
How many games is he going to miss? Like when he comes back, is it going to take him a few games to kind of get familiar with the offense since he's injured right now? He's not going to have a full off season.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm definitely hesitant on Diggs, and in theory, this probably helps Drake May more than it does anybody. This gives him, once Diggs is healthy, a legitimate threat that he doesn't have. Assuming Diggs returns to some semblance, so there's still definitely risks. It does feel like the Patriots probably should take a second round or even first round receiver, unless they really are feeling the offensive line in the first round. Not a Patriots draft show by any means. Certainly get much more clear perspective on other sources. But Diggs was basically the last big free agent signing. There's certainly some other free agents at wide receiver that I would say noteworthy in the sense that I noted them down on our Google Doc with all the free agents. Some of them are, man, I didn't even consider ranking this guy in the top 150 wide receivers in my dynasty rankings. Like, this never even entered that this guy would even be close to the conversation. There's definitely a lot of that. Jamie, we can get to the quarterback contract. Over that too much. And Stefon Diggs' former teammate really headlines things to start things off. Josh Allen signs a 6-year, $130 million extension with the Bills. So $55 million per year. This basically puts him tied for second for quarterback contracts. We saw last year, Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa signed those $55 million deals. I believe Burrow signed it the previous offseason, or it was early last offseason. And Josh Allen has come to meet them. I think Dak Prescott is still the only one making more than that per year. Go take Jerry Jones money. Good for you, Dak. But Jamie, before this massive extension, well, spoiler alert for anyone who didn't watch the first episode, but in episode 1, we talked about the number 1 player at each position. And Jamie, you had Josh Allen at QB1. Yep. I'm assuming there's this is certainly not a negative. Oh no, the Bills have invested in him further, right? Like that's not going to change your mind now. So there's probably not much to talk about here.
Yeah, I could probably move him up my rankings. He's already at 1, so let's put him at -1.
Oh, I was going to first go like he's going to be quarterback 0.75.
There you go.
Not even that makes it sound worse. Actually, never mind. Let's move on. Well, it's tough to get much worse than Sam Darnold, right? Except last year. Last year looked good and got that $100 million contract that everyone was talking about for Sam Darnold. Only instead of the Minnesota Vikings, he signed that with the Seattle Seahawks. So 3 years, $100.5 million. So it's an average of $33.5 million a year. So pretty good quarterback money. From what I've heard reported about it, most of the guarantees, though, are in this first year. So it's a 3-year deal, but it's one of those things where it might just be a 1-year deal. I can check Spotrac to kind of get the details on it. But Josh Allen isn't really – it's the big contract that moved things for NFL. But this Darnold was the free agent. It seemed like that was the domino that once – I mean, Geno Smith getting traded – I do wonder if the Seahawks thought they could get Darnold and that's why they traded away Geno, or they just didn't want to pay Geno and then, okay, well, Darnold's the next best option. I am curious. I might never know really how that went. But what are you thinking about Sam Darnold and the Seahawks? We certainly talked about them lots last week with them trading away Geno Smith, trading away DK Metcalf. But definitely did mention them signing Cooper Kupp. So things are changing for the Seattle wins for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I know. $100 million for 3 years. That just seems like a lot of money to pay a quarterback just to hand the ball off.
I Ken Walker shares. Hope you're correct about that, by the way.
Yeah, I don't see him being worth that much, and I mean maybe I'm wrong because he was a first overall pick, or he was a top pick, I think, in the NFL draft.
Yeah, he was the Baker year, so he wasn't first
Yes.
overall.
Okay, second.
I
So
think
he was the second.
You see, I think Barkley went second. I think he went third, if I remember.
Yeah,
correctly, right?
I just don't think he did that much to earn this. Seems like a massive overpay.
Man, finally someone agreeing with me. I was pretty skeptical of Sam Darnold. I still kind of am. The 1 year thing, just a one spike season for a quarterback, that tends to be a scary proposition. I know whenever I'm kind of projecting or evaluating quarterbacks, I tend to look at their career averages. And this one amazing season was great for Darnold. Every other year he's had has been pretty awful.
And it could have been a product of the offense that he was in. Now that he's not with Minnesota anymore, who knows what he's going to look like?
Well, that's it. He's not going to Justin Jefferson. And I mean, even back to when they were prospects, I was pretty equal on Jordan Addison versus Jackson Smith and Jigba. And based on the season JSN had last year, I do have him higher than Addison in the dynasty rankings, but not much higher. It's maybe 2 spots, maybe only even 1 spot. Like I kind of view them as equals. And Cooper Kupp, even at his peak, was not what Jefferson was. At his peak, he was very productive, but he's far removed from that. The gap between Jefferson and Cooper Kupp now is a massive chasm. He was something like 121st last year in separation on open score. That was, I think it might have been ESPN's open score, but and that could be a subjective metric. But if you're that bad, even if he's maybe getting, the way they score it, he gets hurt by it because of the way he gets open versus others. You can't be that bad. And even if maybe that moves him up in someone else's score model to a few spots, he's probably still outside the top 100. So it's been, and apparently he was outside the top 100 the previous year too, and it's been a decline since that monster 2021 season. So yeah, it's definitely, yeah, I agree. And the infrastructure of Kevin O'Connell, I don't think can be understated either. You could argue, because of the receivers and the coach, that the Vikings is the best quarterback spot for any quarterback anywhere. Because part of my thinking is, well, if Joe Burrow ever leaves Cincinnati, you'd love to throw to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I don't trust Zach Taylor nearly as much as Kevin O'Connell. So I definitely, I think it's Clint Kubiak, I think, with Seattle now as the offensive coordinator. And looking at Darnold's contract, actually, they're pretty committed to him next year too. The dead cap to cut him next year would still be like a $40.6 million cap hit, which actually is higher than his normal cap hit. So yeah, this really is a 2-year deal for Sam Darnold. That's what it's.
So, in a dynasty perspective, where would you rank Darnold after this contract?
Well, Jamie, that's a great question because it makes me want to bring up the next player. Justin Fields signed a 2-year, $40 million contract with the New York Jets. So, $20 million per year. That's not what Darnold got, the $33.5 million per year. So the NFL is kind of saying that they prefer Darnold to Fields. That's not how I have it in my dynasty rankings. And
Same here.
Back to back. Yeah.
They're not even close.
Oh,
I got them like 7 or 8 apart.
Oh, interesting. And maybe, I've got Fields at 25, Darnold at 26. So I'm curious to where you have them exactly.
I got Fields at 19, but he could raise up, and Darnold at 26.
Okay, so we're equal on Darnold. I imagine, you probably have a lot of the younger guys ahead of him. I have Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward both ahead of him. I don't really know where to put them. And if I'm going to like Jackson Dart more, we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks when we talk about rookie quarterbacks. So the rookies are always tough for me to rank, especially before the NFL draft. So maybe those are 2. All the guys I have directly ahead of Fields going to 19, McCarthy, Penix, Bryce Young. On a 1-year basis, I would rather have Fields for sure. I feel like those guys will get more than 1 year, where it's Fields kind of does pose that risk, though. I think most of his guarantees are this year. So it's the balance, though, Jamie. And that's the beauty of these rankings, right? Like, some players you want for their long-term value, some players you want for your production, and when those cross in the rankings, that's a really creative choice to kind of where do these tiers line up?
Yeah, so for redraft right now, I'm thinking of putting Fields at number 10 quarterback, just because he does have that upside for the rushing.
Oh, for sure.
Darnold's still going to be down at that 26, 27 range.
I would imagine Darnold would be a little higher for me in redraft. I'd imagine he'd be in the top 20. I haven't worked on my redraft rankings yet. This is the Dynasty Six Pack. We're still a long ways from redraft rankings coming out. So Dynasty rankings rule all here. But yeah, I have been tempted to raise Fields higher than 25. Maybe because I've been the notorious Fields truther that's been way too high on him all the time. So maybe I'm trying to just be a little reserved with where I have him in my rankings. Maybe you will give me confidence.
Yeah, I think Fields right now is in one of his best situations because before he was in Chicago, that was a whole big mess. And then he went to Pittsburgh. He had to fight with Russell Wilson. They weren't really pass heavy. And now he's with the Jets. It's not much better of a situation, but you have an elite wide receiver, you have an elite running back, and I just see him like what's that one song that Eminem does? You only get 3 shots. Don't let your chance to blow.
Win yourself. Hopefully, Justin Fields wins enough
shots.
games to keep himself a job. Yeah, then that's. I'm also looking at his contract, and maybe it's not as much for 1-year deal as initially anticipated. Cap it next year is only $23 million, and the dead cap's $22 million. So they don't save anything essentially by cutting him. But that doesn't also preclude them from drafting a guy even this year, right? Like so there's. It feels like the Seahawks are less likely to draft a quarterback, and maybe that's the flaw. Maybe they're the ones that surprise us. But I don't think the Jets are going to take a quarterback in the first round. I hope not.
Yeah,
for Fields' sake.
I don't think no.
But I guess that risk is there just in the back of the mind, especially if a guy like Shedeur Sanders falls to them and they weren't expecting it. Do they just take the shot? So I think that risk is maybe what's just giving me that hesitation of putting Fields inside the top 2 QB range when we're talking about 12-team leagues, of course. So that's why 25 kind of feels right, just ahead of Darnold, right? Like they both are joining new teams. You mentioned Garrett Wilson, someone who I believe Fields does have some playing experience with.
Yep.
And even though it was half a decade ago at Ohio State, but they know each other. I guess what's your take on this for the receivers? We've talked about both these quarterbacks, but what does Sam Darnold signing here do for like Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then Fields, like his effects on Garrett Wilson? Because those are, I'm curious where you have those 2 ranked in Dynasty.
JSN, I think he's in the top 12. He'll probably be hyper targeted. Yeah, he's at 12 for me right now. Garrett Wilson's at 11, so pretty close.
Yeah, we talked about that top 8 in episode 2. Actually, we're talking about our top 2 tiers, and 9 down to, man, like I start putting the rookie wide receivers McMillan and Burden at like 18 and 19. So I would say from AJ Brown right to them, it's like 9 to 17. That feels like one giant tier. There's a few players that are really similar. I've got Garrett Wilson 10 and JSN 14. I think Wilson's the one that more likely gets peppered with targets, although I could see both being heavily targeted. I guess with JSN, it's just what's his role going to be? Is he not going to play in the slot? Are they going to have him in the slot and Cooper Kupp on the outside? That could mean the offense doesn't operate as well, but JSN's in his more comfortable role. Or is him as an outside receiver gaining first downs that way? Is that what unlocks the offense to be better, but also might not give him as many targets? So it's weird because I'd love for the solution of JSN being the hyper targeted guy to also help the NFL team. I don't know that it does as easily as we'd like it to, just because of the redundant skill sets, 2 slot receivers, Kupp and JSN. That's what's kind of making it awkward for me. Right now, I mean, who does Wilson have as his number 2 option? Probably Breece Hall, honestly. Maybe
I could see him drafting a tight end early, like a
tight end or receiver,
Warren.
frankly, to be honest.
Yeah,
no, for sure, that can definitely happen. And I know this point was brought up on other shows I was watching. Scott Connor mentioned it. Everyone will point to DJ Moore's wide receiver 6 season with Fields, but he did it on like 135 targets. Now Garrett Wilson has been getting, I think did he have 170 targets last year? I think it was close to that.
Yeah.
It seems like he's been a better target earner than DJ Moore. So
153
Not
targets.
quite. Okay, he hasn't quite hit 107. He had 154 last year, 168. So that actually is pretty comparable to what DJ Moore. I believe DJ Moore's best season was like 160, 169, just shy of 170. But what Moore did in that wide receiver one season he had with Fields, I think he had something like 135 targets. That's less targets than Wilson's ever gotten in his career. And I understand, like with Fields, we expect a lower passing volume offense. But Wilson might still be able to get 150 targets just because most of them will go to him. And whether he lines up in the slot or on the outside, it feels like Fields is just going to go to him. So I don't know. I'm a little more optimistic about Wilson. I guess you are too, by one spot. To me, that's Wilson and Drake London were rookie draft mates the same year. And London's another guy I have in that range. Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison the last couple of years. Zay Flowers just behind JSN, also in the same class as JSN. So that's why I think it's a range with a lot of these similar young wide receivers. With, I would say, I mean, some of them don't have questionable QB situations. McConkey and Flowers have amazing quarterbacks, but a lot of these other guys, there's still some questions about the quarterbacks. Any quarterback questions as we continue on quarterback contracts? There's a team you wanted to talk about last week that we didn't get a chance to. This is the perfect opportunity. Talking about Daniel Jones and the Colts.
Danny Dimes, yes.
You got a lot of dimes here. 1 year with $14 million. That's, I don't even want to do the math on how many dimes that is, but that's quite a lot. This seems like the biggest QB controversy in the NFL right now in terms of a legit battle for who's going to be the starter. It feels like a lot of the spots are kind of accounted for. There's the teams we expect to draft quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. This seems like this is truly a quarterback battle that's up in the air. So what do you think about the Colts as a whole? We'll talk about Jones and Richardson, but I also want to talk about the effects on the receivers.
I think Jones will definitely help Josh Downs. We seen it last year when Daniel Jones was throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale was getting 10 to 15 targets per game. And Wan'Dale is a very similar player to Josh Downs, almost identical. So if Jones does become the starter, Josh Downs is going to be a massive value. I don't really want anything to do with Pittman. Still, A.D. Mitchell only in best ball. But other than that, I don't want anything to do with their pass catchers.
I'm a little concerned, and I guess that Josh Downs does kind of come up in our trade of the week, not directly, but indirectly. But I'm kind of just concerned in general with the Colts receivers because the big problem I've had with Daniel Jones throughout his career is he's not a good touchdown producer. When it comes to rushing quarterback, he's definitely more of the rushing floor archetype. He's not Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, but he's not far off from that. But he's not producing a ton of touchdowns, whether it's rushing or passing, especially passing. He's got 120 touchdown season in his career in terms of passing touchdowns. And so even if they make the switch from Richardson to Jones, we expect, more passing volume, but I don't know that there's a ton of touchdown upside for the receivers still. So I'm not overly optimistic really for either direction, whether for these guys to have Richardson or to have Daniel Jones. Again, in theory, it's probably better to have Jones for better volume. But I will say, Jamie, the one guy I think would be a winner from Daniel Jones being in is Jonathan Taylor, especially if he makes the offense operate better, gives more red zone and goal line opportunities. Jones is less likely to vulture those touchdowns away from Taylor than Anthony Richardson was. And it's not even really vulturing because that's part of Richardson's best skill set. Like, you want to utilize him that way. That's what's kind of been hurting Taylor. That and the lack of receptions from a low passing volume. I don't know that Jones necessarily dumps off to the running back. Barkley, sure, that's Barkley, right? Like, that's you're integrating him getting receptions into the offense as kind of like a primary function. Steichen hasn't really schemed up Taylor that way. If he's up there for pass attempts, he might get dump offs. That's the one thing, is that he's just not being designed routes, but he'll just be out there for enough snaps and he'll get enough dump offs from Daniel Jones. But I think certainly the touchdown upside. So I would say Taylor probably, if they were to announce early enough that Jones is the starter. Like in training camp, it's the first week, and they're like, no, Jones has this offense much better than Richardson, and they make that decision early. I'll probably be willing to rank Taylor pretty highly, both in Dynasty and in redraft, but that'll be something where he might come in a bit of a value. And if you want to kind of make that, if people are scared of him and Richardson in the touchdowns, maybe that's a good cheaper hedge to make in thinking Richardson will get benched for Jones and Taylor's going to be the biggest beneficiary of that. That would at least be the way I see it. You made a good point with Downs, though, with the comparison from Downs to Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, because I mean, even if he gets 15 targets, he catches 7 of them for 60 yards. That's still decent fantasy points in PPR.
Yeah, definitely is for sure. Anything else you want to mention about the Colts? We still don't know who their tight end's going to be, but that seems like it's a case every year.
Exactly. No, I'm done talking about Colts right now.
Well, actually, I'm curious, where do you have the Colts QBs ranked in Dynasty? Because it's funny, we go Fields, Darnold. I have Richardson at 27.
Jeez, let me just pull up. Richardson, 17.
Oh, okay.
So like a couple spots ahead of Fields.
Yeah.
Just because of the age difference. There's 4 years age difference. And, I heard Anthony Richardson has been working with Josh Allen, trying to figure out how to actually, become accurate for a quarterback. And he's using that Jaden Daniels tech with that VR.
Yeah, trying to just get game reps and simulate that decision making, because it seems like he needs to work on both. He needs to work on his decision making and he needs to work on his throwing accurately. Like, man, why did the Colts draft the guy at quarterback and he can't process, he can't throw accurately, right? Usually you'd want at least one already developed, but they really went with the developmental quarterback, didn't they?
Yep.
And I mean, man, I did drop him quite low with this Daniel Jones sign. Like I said, I dropped him all the way down to QB 27. Like he would have, before Jones signed, I probably would have had it. I think I would have had him in the top 20, maybe even right around 15, 16, 17. Like what kind of work where you have it? But just this big risk of him getting benched. And yes, he's younger than a lot of these guys, but if he never really develops as a passer, will it matter that he's younger if he never gets another start? If he becomes just Trey Lance and no one ever even wants him, which, I mean, this is the only time we'll talk about Trey Lance today because he's still a free agent. No one signed him. Like, if people are like that scared, like no one even wants to sign him to a cheap backup quarterback contract. We're about to talk about some of these backup contracts. Like they're really some cheap ways to get some decent quarterbacks with experience. And Lance can't even get one of those. So Saskatchewan Roughriders, they did just sign him to their negotiation list. So we'll see if he joins the CFL. I guess the last. So yeah. Also, where do you have Jones in Dynasty? Because I've got him at 33 right
now. Probably around 40. I mean,
that's fair.
Yeah, I would say 40, 41. Maybe.
I've only got 3 rookie quarterbacks ahead of him, so there's maybe like, as like if Miller gets better capital than we'd expect, he's certainly someone that's going to go up. I have him higher than like the high upside rushing backups too, like Malik Willis or Marcus Mariota. Just because as much as I like those guys, I rank them highly because if they ever get starts, they've got the rushing floor and they can be really good producers there more than some other backups who might even be more established. I've got kind of Jones in a range where I think the risk of Richardson getting benched and Jones starting is real, and I've got that reflected in my rankings.
Yeah, so I have Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Joe Milton, then Daniel Jones. So that's 37.
I don't get it with Joe Milton, dude. I don't even have him ranked, and I've got 75 QBs. Oh, I do have him ranked QB 70 for me. I mean, he's a third stringer.
I don't know, man. He has good arm strength. I know during his pro day, they had to move the pro day to the outside just so he doesn't hit the ceiling when he makes his throws.
That's not great because he might have to play in domes. And if you hit the ceiling, the ball's out of play. So like you can't just like, that's not good. I don't know. I don't quite get it with Joe Milton, but that's fine. I guess the point is, yeah, like I've got him right ahead of Aaron Rodgers. Now, if Aaron Rodgers signs suddenly, that probably changes. I guess like It sounds like you still have faith that Richardson's going to play at least most of the season.
Until he gets hurt.
Okay.
Probably so 5 weeks.
That's not great. So, like, what do you? Because I've kind of building in the injury risk, but the benching risk, because I've only got them separated by 6 spots, where it sounds like you've got them separated by like 20 something spots.
Yeah, I'm going by talent and situation. Like I can't put injury because we can't predict injury. As I just said, Richardson's only going to play 5 weeks due to injury. But
well, I was going to say if you think that, why is the QB 17? But you're right, like trying to predict it.
Just that upside. It's just the upside, and if he does play the whole season, that's where I would have him.
If I knew he was going to play the whole season, I'd probably have him even higher than that, to be honest. But to me the benching risk is more than the injury risk. Just Jones being there, likely being a better passer. If at some point this coaching staff really wants to go to him, I think unlike Joe Flacco, they might go to him and just stay with him. If Richardson ever gets benched this year, I have to imagine Daniel Jones is going to be scheduled to start the rest of the year. And then, if an injury happens there, that's how Richardson gets back in. But do the Colts want to kind of tie themselves to Jones long-term again? And just a 1-year contract, which I guess was the vogue with, Fields getting the 2 years, Darnold the 3, obviously the big Josh Allen contract, but most of the other guys got either 1 or 2 years. And then I think we've spent enough time on the Colts. Like again, we didn't talk about them last week, so we saved it all for here. But the Giants, they made a couple splashes, signing Russell Wilson to a 1-year, $10.5 million contract. I guess actually, yeah. What did you think of this sign?
Man, I was hoping Jameis Winston was gonna be the starter. I know they paid him backup money, but it was
for that sake, the Giants also paid Jameis Winston 2 years, $8 million, so $4 million average per year.
Yeah, it just would have been fun to see Jameis Winston throwing the ball to middle league neighbors. Like, have you ever played Madden on PlayStation? And just put it on rookie mode and just get like 600 yards per game, just airing it down the field. That's how I would have saw Jameis Winston with middle league neighbors. Now with Russ,
you can't turn the NFL on rookie mode though. So it's 30. It's 600 yards, but 30 interceptions.
Yeah, but
one game.
Russ, obviously Russ is a way better quarterback than what they've been dealing with in the past, and I think it's going to help the team. It may
is Russ the best quarterback the Giants have ever had? No, it's Phil Simms. I guess the last time the Giants had good quality quarterback play was probably before Wilson was in the league, because 2011 Eli Manning wins the Super Bowl. That was maybe one of his best seasons too, statistically, if you look at it, 2011. And then Wilson came in the league next year, and from then on, Manning sucked. So literally, like, as long as Wilson's been in the league, they haven't had a quarterback as good as Wilson, to be honest.
Yeah, so
I think anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but
with Russell Wilson though, like he isn't just a one read type of quarterback. So like he'll go through his progressions, and that kind of makes me nervous about Neighbors a little bit. I might have to lower Neighbors like 1 or 2 spots. I still see Neighbors being a top 5 receiver with Wilson as their quarterback.
So I guess like if it was Winston, you'd have him at like wide receiver 4. Would you even have him at
I'd probably put him at 1 or 2, honestly.
Okay, fair enough.
Like 170 targets. You know.
I mean, Wilson's kind of like, he's basically just making double what Winston is. Like 10.5 million also isn't like that. When I saw that contract, I was surprised it was that low. And maybe there might be a ton of incentives in it too. So he's going with a low guarantee amount, but maybe he can double it with incentives. Who knows? But that seemed like a low amount to me. So maybe the Giants are like, the fact that they would sign both is really like a signal maybe that they're not necessarily convinced that they're just gonna, if Russ doesn't deliver, that they're not going to be afraid to go to Winston. I think maybe that's kind of the understanding.
Well, that too, and just because they got Russell Wilson doesn't mean they're not going to draft a quarterback. I've been hearing a bunch of people saying, "Oh, now they don't need a quarterback at what were they at, number 3?" I
think so
in the draft. That's not necessarily what's going to happen, because we saw it last year when Cousins was signed. They still drafted Penix, in the top 10, and I can see them.
And they don't have nearly as much guaranteed future money in quarterbacks as the Falcons did when they decided to make that decision. Like,
yep.
Winston's on the books for like $4 million next year. Russell's not. I don't think Tommy DeVito is either. So if they draft let's say, right now it looks like Shedeur Sanders. Like the expectation is he will be available for them at 3. So if they really like him, they can just take him.
I would love Jameis Winston and Shedeur Sanders to be on the same team. Like that just sounds so much fun, because you're gonna have your issues with Shedeur, with his attitude, but then Winston's like uppity attitude. Like Winston's a great guy to have in the locker room. Maybe he can settle Shedeur down and like help bring him along while you're having Russ.
I don't necessarily know that Shedeur needs to be settled down, but I know that's the discourse right now. I kind of like what Shedeur's saying. Like he wants to come in and he wants to be a winner. And he, if he's being drafted highly to a team that hasn't been winning, he wants to change that culture and get them winning immediately. To me, I like that. I want the quarterbacks to think like that.
Yeah, it seems kind of cocky to me, and I'm not that type of person.
Oh yeah, you're not a cocky person at all, Jimmy. I don't know. Him wanting to win. Like, isn't that exactly what you want your quarterback to say? He's not coming in and saying, I'm going to win a Super Bowl this year. I'm going to come in and I'm going to change everything myself. He's kind of like, I want to help change a bad culture to a winning culture. Like, to me, that's exactly what you want your guys to say.
Yeah, but you also don't want to ignore the people that are interviewing you and kind of shrug them off on your shoulder and be like, I don't even care what the hell you got to say. He did it to the Vegas Raiders. Like, he wasn't even paying attention to the questions.
Oh, okay, not reporters, like team interviews. Okay.
Yeah, like he was just shrugging them off. Like, I don't care what you got to say. Like, I think he already knows where he's going. Maybe it is the Giants.
Well, that's the only way he would know is if it's that high and the team is locked in to take him. So you're right. Again, these contracts to Winston and Wilson definitely don't preclude him. You talk about the Winston contract. Again, 2 years, $8 million. That's exactly what Mason Rudolph and Josh Dobbs got. So and it's funny the timing, right? Winston signed first, and then they signed Wilson. You figure if they wanted Wilson that badly, they would have signed him first. The timing also of, we've gotten the news recently that the Titans really seem to have shifted away from Abdul Carter to Cam Ward. And I wonder if the Giants, for the past few weeks, have been trying to trade up to first overall. And the Titans have kind of maybe been exploring the idea and open to it. And suddenly they've kind of let the Giants know, we're not trading the pick. We're going to take Cam Ward. And that's why the Giants signed Wilson. But to me, if that's the reason, maybe that does signal that they're just going to pass on Shedeur, and they're just going to, do they take Travis Hunter? Do they take, I don't know. Right? Like, I guess we'll find out. So until then, like, I've got Wilson ranked just behind Anthony Richardson, which again is not as high as you have him, but QB 28. He was kind of right around Daniel Jones before this, so I've moved him up a few spots. He's basically leapfrogged like Geno, Matthew Stafford, and Derek Carr. Stafford gets Puka, which is great. Geno gets gets Brock Bowers, which is good. But man, getting to throw to Malik Neighbors. Actually, I guess maybe Puka is more impressive. Maybe Stafford should be ahead of Wilson. I don't know. It feels like they're in that tier. 30-year-old quarterbacks aren't great for rushing numbers, but they could certainly sling the ball.
Yeah. Currently, I have Winston at 31 and Russell Wilson at 32. Just because of that age gap difference. I think it was like a five-year age gap.
Man, I'm not convinced that, like, from this moment on, that Winston's going to start more games than Wilson rest of career. Like, I think Wilson still has enough seasons in him and to get enough starts. And I'm, again, like, Winston seems to, if he gets the backup job, if the starter gets hurt, that's how he gets his starts. But it feels like Winston's never going to be handed a starting job for the rest of his career. So, like, guys like that, you like them in good situations. Before they signed Wilson, I had him probably right around 34, 35. I've dropped Winston now to 43. To me, he's in the high tier passing backup quarterbacks, but I have Tyrod Taylor, Malik Willis, and Marcus Mariota all ahead of him because they're the rushing backup quarterbacks, and I would favor them still. If they're given the opportunity to start, they're probably going to give you more consistent points than Winston. He'll have the high ceiling performances, but also low floor. I'm all about the rushers. Which I guess is saying I'm all about the rushers. Is it time to get to running backs? Is there any other quarterbacks you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, there was McCorkle Jones. Mac and cheese.
To the 49ers.
I mean, Shanahan finally got the quarterback that he wanted when they, drafted Trey Lance.
Pretty cheap too. What was it? 2 years, $7 million. It's almost the same contract as Winston, but yeah.
So I don't know. It's just like that. You could put any quarterback in that offense, and I think they would succeed. And I think Purdy's the perfect example of it. Like, he was Mr. Irrelevant. Is he really that good, or is it the situation that they put him in? And we might see it. We might see Mac Jones. Yeah, we might see Mac Jones overtake Purdy. Who knows?
I don't think we're going to see that. All reports are the 49ers are about to, give this massive extension to Brock Purdy. And if they do that, they're not going to. It'll never be a competition. Like, if they're, we'll see. Like, is Purdy going to demand he wants Dak Prescott money? He wants to make $60+ million a year. Like, I'm going to sign this and be the highest paid QB in the league for the moment, knowing someone else will eventually pass me. Like, is that what Purdy's demanding? And if so, I mean, I guess Mac Jones is an option, but do the 49ers really want to go down that road? I mean, to me, he's lesser than the Winstons here. Like, I've got Mac Jones QB 52 right now.
Interesting. So has Purdy ever had a week or a quarterback 1 week?
Oh, yeah.
Or quarterback 2 weeks, has he?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Mac Jones did it a bunch of times.
Sure. Oh, you know what, Jamie? Any quarterback can. Quarterback is the position where the ceiling's always a high potential for any quarterback. The problem is Mac Jones might be the lowest floor quarterback we've ever seen. He started an entire game, had 3 pass attempts and negative rushing yards. Like, didn't get hurt mid-game and scored like a fraction of a point. It was like he played the whole game. I don't think he threw an interception or had like a bad turnover. Just the floor is so low with him, and especially on the 49ers where they'd be so run heavy. My problem with Jones is I don't think he's going to be a great fantasy option if he ever does get those starts. He might be like better for NFL than for fantasy. So I can see why the 49ers
I agree.
this.
Yep.
I don't want it. Like, when it comes to backups again, I still prefer the high-end rushing backups. Malik Willis, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor is one of the best backups to have. Again, I love Fields, but the chance of Taylor starting because of injury or benching makes him probably like the most intriguing backup quarterback. And that's, to me, discounting Kenny Pickett, Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, who right now are slated to be their team starters. The draft or other moves could change that. So I've got those guys still ranked ahead. Spencer Rattler, too, just because could he bench Carr? I don't know. Rattler's a tough one to rank. Talking way too much about backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I was going to say,
you know what, though? With some of these backup quarterbacks, they're getting more money than some of the running backs, most of the running backs. So to be fair, the NFL values backup quarterbacks more than running backs. So here we are,
right,
running back contracts.
Yeah, go ahead and transition to the running back. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Running back. But, I mean, it's Saquon Barkley we're going to talk about first. So I don't know that there's much dynasty need to talk about Barkley. I mean, there could be. But Barkley signed a 2-year, $41.2 million extension. So $20.6 million per year. I believe that makes it the highest paid per year contract of any running back in NFL history. So, I mean, he did just win a Super Bowl. He definitely got rewarded for that. I know for rankings, if you go back to 2 episodes ago, we talked about our top 2 tiers at each position, and we did not have Barkley in our top 2 tiers. Myself, Jamie, also our co-host Rahul, who will be joining us next week. That's the plan anyway. Missing Rahul. We'd love to get him back in here. But I think Barkley probably comes into that next tier for me, that 3rd tier. And so he was already under contract for this year, I believe, but getting those either replacing this year or getting those 2 extra years afterwards, I think gives me enough confidence to kind of keep him at RB5. to me, the risk with Barkley is just how much work he got last year. Is there better injury risk chance or ineffectiveness chance from this year? That's maybe the one risk of why I might consider putting him lower than 5, but RB5 for now. We'll see. Maybe a rookie bounces ahead of him. I know once Jamie gets back in, he'll probably make some very. Oh, here he is.
Yeah, my bad.
I'm just talking Barkley RB5. That's where I have him.
Okay. For Dynasty?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to consider like the win now situation. I have him at 5. Like the only reason he's that low is because of his age. I think he's 28 already.
And versus, like we talked about, the guys in our top 2 tiers, they're all still on their rookie contracts. So, I mean, that was something none of us, you, me, and Rahul, none of us had him in our top 2 tiers. So, I think tier 3 does make sense. So this is where, outside those 4 or 5 guys, again, maybe a rookie comes in and, like I was thinking, if Amari and Hampton gets first round capital, would that be enough to push him into the top 5? I know Rahul mentioned that is there another rookie running back he put into his second tier? So like that right now, that seems like the more likely chance to surpass him, I think.
Yeah, so I'm like looking at my top 10, and there's not another guy besides Jonathan Taylor at 26 that's over 22 years old.
Really?
Yeah, you got Judkins, Henderson. They're obviously rookies, and then Hampton. Then you got Brees Hall, A-Chain, Genty, Bijan Gibbs.
So yeah, I've got guys like Ken Walker, your favorite Kyron Williams in the top 10 still. But
I moved him down
as the rookies come in. Yeah, I think that's one thing. I've got the rookies maybe ranked a little too low right now, but I am kind of just cautiously waiting for the NFL draft as well, I think. But yeah, Hampton certainly feels like if he gets first round capital again, he's probably going to for sure jump Barkley. If the Bucks don't draft a running back, I would say Bucky Irving's the only veteran running back that could pass him, just because he's almost a rookie, right? He's entering the second year of his rookie contract. I think that's another guy that could jump into that second tier if the Bucks don't make another serious investment in the draft, which I think is the only risk right now I have. But Hampton and Irving are the two I could really see jumping Barkley. So maybe 7 at worst after the draft is probably as low as I'm willing to go for Barkley in Dynasty.
Yeah, for, this year, then like I could see him being on a Derrick Henry trajectory, because Derrick Henry's 31, and he's still in my top 20 at 31.
Same, yeah.
So in 3
RB
years from now,
for me.
Yeah, so in 3 years from now, Barkley will still be in that top 15, just because of how talented he is and the usage and the team that he's on.
The usage does scare me in that, is it almost too much usage? Like those 350 touch running backs, which I believe he was one from last year.
Yeah.
The next season, it's just a little bit scary.
Thought about that, yeah, at his age, but he doesn't have as many mileage, just like Derrick Henry. He didn't have early mileage, just like Barkley, because he was injured a lot in his early career, so he wasn't used as much.
Well, I mean, year one, he was his first year in the NFL, he hit that 350 touch plateau, and then the next year missed, I guess, 3 games, and then the next year, that's when he tore his ACL, missed almost the entire season. Yeah. I guess over the past 3 seasons, he's only missed 4 games technically, and one was week 18 this past season, so it didn't matter for fantasy. So if there's a fantasy relevant games, he's only missed, I guess, 3 over the last three seasons. So he has shown that durability. Man, he had 345 carries, let alone like the 350 touch mark. Like he's at, what is it? Really, only 33 receptions. Career low, other than his ACL tear year for Barkley. That's interesting. He still had amazing. It didn't matter that he only had 33 catches. I mean, you get that many yards, 2,000 yard season, career high in touchdowns as well. Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Yeah, he's a complete stud. He's my RB1 in redrafts. If I have the 101 or 102, I'd consider Barkley.
Even with all this danger of the 350 touch is
Yeah.
on the Eagles. Is he protected enough that it doesn't matter?
That offensive line
I
is just.
might also go with him as the 101 in a 1 QB redraft as well.
Yeah, I mean that offensive line is just too good to pass up, and they're going to be making the playoffs again. They're going to be a high-scoring team.
Yeah, a lot of touchdown opportunities, and in spite of Hurts still rushing a bunch of touchdowns, again, Barkley tied his rookie season with 15 scrimmage touchdowns. So again, career high in touchdowns, certainly in rushing yards, just not in receptions. Still chasing that 91 catch season as a rookie. Yeah. But I guess talk about pass catching backs. The Minnesota Vikings. Double duty here. Going for 2 running backs. Aaron Jones signed a 2-year, $20 million contract. The Vikings also traded for and then subsequently signed Jordan Mason to a 2-year, $12 million contract. So new backfield here, or at least Aaron Jones was there last year, but Ty Chandler, Kenny Nwangwu, all the other backups he had, we're replacing all of them with Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I love this because they're going to work great together. Mason's that grinder type running back that's going to relieve Jones for those short yard rushing opportunities. But Jones is still going to get like the pass catching, and he's going to be the main focus. What do you see, like 60, 70% of the snap shares for Aaron Jones? And then you just have Mason coming in for those are like 30 to 40. So for fantasy, dynasty, like I'm not really interested in Jordan Mason. But this does, bringing him in, it helps raise up Aaron Jones for me.
In that, they could have brought in better competition.
Yeah.
And like you were maybe worried that they bring in someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they're committing 2 years to Jones, because last year was on just a 1-year contract. So even though there's probably not much guaranteed in that second year, the fact that they do it is, I guess, it gives confidence.
So last year, Aaron Jones had like a 63, 64% snap share. I don't see that changing. He's going to keep the same role. And Jordan Mason is just going to get those maybe goal line work and the short yard passing to give Aaron Jones a break.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, to me, the goal line chance was the one shot where could that be the avenue where Mason takes away from Jones?
Maybe. Well, he only had
the problem was
7 touchdowns last year, and
they were
rushing?
horrendous. If you look at the goal line guide stuff, they were horrendous running inside the 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just a Jones thing. Like, that was all the running backs, and maybe that's the offensive line too. So in theory, it was an offense where there wasn't as much touchdown upside for running as you'd like. Mm-hmm. So many. I mean, Darnold threw 35. Right, they were passing for so many touchdowns. And I guess maybe with JJ McCarthy, are they hesitant to rely on him as much? That could be the case, and it ends up being where they do end up just running more inside the 5, and there's more rushing touchdowns there. But even if Mason were to, in theory, get that role, last year they showed that wasn't as a high upside role as we would have liked. So I'm with you. To me, like, I view Mason as a backup running back, which is useful. Like, it's like to be ranked among probably I wouldn't put him as like the highest of backup running backs. Actually, I can look at my rankings. They are here. But yeah, where do I have Jordan Mason?
I mean, I'd rather have Garendo over Jordan Mason.
Sure, you got
explosiveness and the offense.
I mean, I think I've got that. I've got it that way too. Yes, I agree. Because I mean, again, like for running backs, like I'm prioritizing the guys in their rookie contracts over the guys that aren't. If we're talking 2 backup running backs, give me the backup running back on his rookie contract for sure.
So Aaron Jones and Dynasty, I don't even know if I would pay a late second for him if I was a contender.
Yeah,
like if I had someone else's early third round.
I'll be honest,
pick,
Jamie. This isn't the time of year I want to be buying running backs anyway.
Exactly.
I'd rather wait till after the NFL draft to be buying running backs.
Well, I don't buy running backs until after preseason because you never know what's going to happen in preseason either.
Sure, but I mean, that to me is any player. Like wide receivers can tear an ACL in the preseason, right? Like, but I feel like running backs have so much risk of being replaced, especially in this year's NFL draft, that I really want to wait until after the draft to start buying running backs. To your point, if you can wait as long as you can, closer to the season's better. But a player you might want might be being traded around the rookie draft time. And like, if you don't get him then, that contending type manager isn't going to sell them until late enough in the season. If you're trying to add to week one roster, you might have to make that move sooner than you'd like. That's just the one hesitation. If you're really after a player, sometimes waiting too long means the trade gets done. I just saw Jaden Reed get traded in a league today, and I was in talks with the other manager, and I was thinking of I have the 202, and I was thinking of using that as a chip to kind of get Reed, but I wanted to wait till the pick was on the clock. So
yeah,
just wasn't going to happen. Not getting Reed now. So at least
so,
on that.
So if I had Aaron Jones on my roster and we're in the rookie draft, and let's say you're in the third round, someone like Scatabo or DJ Giddens is on the clock, I would send out offers, be like, hey, do you want Aaron Jones for this pick?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if Scadabu's there late enough, I certainly want Scadabu. I mean, we'll see where he goes in the NFL draft, but I'm definitely really high on him. We'll talk about that next week, though. We're still on the veteran running backs. Just want to shift over to, I suppose he's a backup running back, but he got like the third most money of any running back. It's Rico Dowdle. 1 year, $6.25 million to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, this one's fun because we saw what he could do last year. He did pretty decent, and then now he's going to be behind Hubbard. Like, they re-signed Hubbard last year, right?
Yeah, they gave him like a four-year extension, I think. So, like, they've invested long-term money into a running back that Hubbard's the starter. I think the real question is how much does he get? Like, I feel like your split you said with Jones and Mason might apply here, a 60-40 type of snap.
No. Hubbard last year there was times where he was getting like 80, 90. I even saw like a 95% snap share game for Hubbard.
But I don't think the Panthers want to do that. I think they did that because they had no choice.
Okay, but even if he does get that 50 to 60%, we saw a top 5 week from Hubbard with like a 60% snap share.
I love when you're talking up a Canadian like Hubbard because I don't think
I didn't know he was Canadian. Let's talk about more.
Yeah, this isn't awful for him. I think he's clearly a starter, and I'd imagine he gets the more valuable touches. He gets the goal line stuff. He gets the pass catching. I think it's maybe the same argument as Mason. I could see maybe the goal line stuff getting split, and that's maybe where Dowdle does a bit of damage. But I mean, frankly, I just think Hubbard's a better running back than Dowdle. Right? I just flat out think that he's the more talented one and kind of can do it in all sorts of facets. So I still view Hubbard as getting most of the valuable touches. In fact, having less carries between the 20s might almost help him, might make him more efficient. So it could be a good thing from that sense. To me, though, Dowdle is definitely better than what they had last year. So there is.
Oh, they had what, Blackshear?
Well, especially when Brooks was injured. Yeah, Raheem Blackshear was the main backup running back for so much of the season. So feels like this gives them a better option. This is great for their team. This really hurts Dowdle, though, because like he had a chance to maybe be a start. Like if he had just stayed in Dallas, he's probably the starter there, and they could maybe still replace him in the draft. But now he's behind Hubbard, and who knows? Maybe again, it's another backfield that they could still draft one. Like none of these backfields that did anything are precluded from taking a running back fairly early in the draft and just messing up things further for guys. So it's to me this is a big loss for Dowdle. I think he's kind of being a big loser in free agency just because of where he ended up.
I agree. Big loser.
Specifically from where he left too.
Last year he was top 24 in fantasy points per game. This year,
with barely doing anything at the start of the year too.
Yeah,
in games he played, but just didn't produce because they just wasn't getting on the field.
Yeah, no, I'd look at him maybe in that 36 range, possibly.
Sorry, Dowdle?
Dowdle. Yeah, maybe like as your fourth running back.
Yeah, I've got him at RB. You mentioned Garendo earlier. I'd rather have Isaac Garendo than Rico Dowdle.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, and like like Charbonnet, Ray Davis, even your boy Blake Corum. Like, I'll take those rookie contract running backs. Of course, Roshan. Right? Like,
Now, in a situation where Hubbard maybe gets injured, like hypothetically he does get injured, I could
buy
see
him then, right? Like,
Donald would be like a top 15 option on a
and he's
weekly
probably
basis.
not going to be like so expensive, right? Like if we know Hubbard's hurt, we're going to know him as the starter, but he still also doesn't have that necessarily name cachet that he's he's suddenly going to go for multiple seconds. Like, probably still attain him fairly easily even after he gets that kind of start. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he goes up and he's worth the first if Hubbard's hurt.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I doubt it.
The Panthers are good enough to command that. Well, it's funny how this guy. It's funny. I think there's incentives that maybe get him up to $9 million, which would make him the third highest paid running back in free agency, which again includes Barkley getting all that money. But Najee Harris, I think the all that's guaranteed is $5.25 million on a 1-year contract from the LA Chargers. To me, Jamie, the one thing I'll say, this is the opposite of Jordan Mason. This is a role that they run a lot inside the 5. Like they were essentially last year from an inside the 5 perspective, they were the opposite of the Vikings. Barely did anything on the ground, really bad efficiency on the ground, really bad passing efficiency. They barely threw the ball inside the 5. It was run heavy, pounding on the ground with Dobbins, with Edwards, even some of the other guys got carries. This is a great situation for Najee Harris to be in.
Yes.
Frankly, leaving Pittsburgh, this might be the best spot he possibly could have gone to when it came to no other established starters. And not to say, because I think Gus Edwards and Dobbins are both still out there. The Chargers could bring them back at any moment. Again, they could draft a running back. So I don't want to just like massively raise Najee Harris. But I guess where do I have him? Because the one question, I've got him, I'm just ahead of Chuba Hubbard. Hubbard, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, Harris, to me, they're all in that same range, right inside the top 30.
Yeah, so the thing is, I don't see Najee getting the target share that he was getting. I think he was top 20 last year in target share for running backs.
But I was thinking like rookie season, he had a huge target share. I think he led all running backs in catches and hasn't done much of that since then, though.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Vidal, but that's Hank Aaron's great nephew. If you guys don't know, Kamani Vidal.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, Hank Aaron's great nephew, still on that team. That dude's explosive. He could be the pass catching running back.
It's funny. His first play was a home run hit. I'm pretty sure his first was a touchdown.
50+ yards. It was.
Screen. I think it was a screen catch, right? He made a reception.
But Najee's going to make that up because he only got 6 touchdowns last year. He is going to smash that. I could see double-digit touchdowns for Najee this year.
Just the way the Chargers ran their offense last year, that seems likely he's going to fit into that role as that goal line grinder guy. I don't know about the receptions. I think being tied to Herbert's going to do wonders for him. To me, I think it's all just about how much he's going to be on the field. If they want to, because Harris has been probably one of, maybe arguably the most durable back since he's been in the NFL. I don't think he's missed a game. Through his whole rookie contract, never missed a game. So is he a running back where the Chargers have confidence? We're just going to give him 70, 80% of the snaps, and he's just going to be out there on third downs. We're not designing him routes, but Herbert will check down to him because there'll just be enough pass attempts. I actually kind of like it from his perspective on the pass catching, just because Vidal had that crazy 50-yard touchdown run, and then they didn't do anything with him after. Like they still didn't have confidence even after seeing him do that, really playing him on the field. So I don't know that. To me, I think a rookie coming in is probably better competition, like tougher competition for Najee to overcome than Kamani. Sorry, Hank Aaron's.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. I just think Najee is still going to be a good value, depending on where you get him in drafts. I know in best ball, I would probably consider him, man, like for a seasonal standpoint, like in the top 20 to 24.
I think that's fair. I feel like once Dobbins got going, that's where we were ranking him. Like I was even pretty aggressively ranking him in the top 12 because of the goal line stuff. But I think he was regularly being ranked as a top 20 running back once he got most of the work. I feel like what Dobbins did last year, Najee Harris could reproduce for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
So that makes sense. I like that. frankly, he might be the biggest winner in free agency from running backs. Obviously, I mean, Barkley's the biggest winner financially because the money he got, but just from like the fantasy value, right? Like Harris splitting work with Jalen Warren. I guess that's the one thing. I still have Warren ranked higher than Najee in Dynasty right now, still on his rookie contract, and now he is the starter. Feels like the Steelers are susceptible to adding. I think they added Kenneth Gainwell. But right now, I've got Jalen Warren as a top 24 running back because he looks like he's in line for a ton of touches. We'll see how the draft shakes out, though. So I don't necessarily want to go buy him right now. There's very few running backs, again, I want to buy this time of year.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to actually draft someone. So I don't think I have them as high as you do.
I mean, we're going to talk about running backs next week, and there's so many guys. I'm expecting most teams to draft somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's part of it, too, is like the guys I have behind him, like, man, I could just see as easily those teams drafting running backs, too, and replacing.
Like, Jalen Warren's kind of in that DeAndre Swift range where, like, what if the Bears add someone? What if Pittsburgh adds someone? Like, we don't know what to do with these guys yet.
No, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's tough to buy any of these guys right now, I think. So I think, well, actually, no, there's one more starter technically right now. The Dallas Cowboys. There's two guys who could be these starters. Javonte Williams, 1 year, $3 million, which is essentially half of what Rico Dowdle's making. So the Cowboys really they're paying their quarterback $60 million. They've got to save money where they can. Miles Sanders also got a 1 year deal, pretty close to the league minimum. So to be fair, Javonte got more money, but his contract doesn't preclude Sanders from overtaking him and winning the starting job right now. But man, does this not seem like a team that's definitely going to draft a running back?
Man, they have to draft a running back.
It's funny because we said that last year and they didn't. But
we wanted them to draft a running back last year. They were fine without it, but this year is the time where they need to draft a running back, even if it's in the second round.
Oh, for sure. They don't have to spend their first. The depth is so good that they could spend a third rounder, and that guy comes in and instantly takes most of the touches and is a vast improvement. I think this year's class seemed a lot better than last year's class. So I'll actually give Jerry Jones credit. They looked at what was in the draft last year, and they said, we need running back, but we're not going to force it on inferior players. We're going to wait a year. This year's class is the year to go in and draft a running back. So
I just thought, honestly, like during the draft, I thought he was senile and forgot that he needed a running back last year.
Well, I mean, if they had taken Jonathan Brooks like everyone thought, like that wouldn't have helped them at all. So
yeah.
No, really, the key to last year was just giving more touches to Rico Dowdle, apparently.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, man, if he can carve out a role, he's not even 25 yet. I think he could get about that, like 50 to 60, maybe 70 targets. Oh,
I mean, here's the thing. I think Williams has had a 50 catch season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he had 52 receptions last year.
Oh, geez.
Miles Sanders, his rookie year, had 50 catches. So when I saw these two together, that was the first thing I thought of. That's why they got them. Oh, these guys have had 50 catch seasons. Let's sign both of them. Is that telegraphing they really want pass catching running backs? But now the problem is they both kind of fit that. So we don't know who's going to be the designated pass catcher. But because whoever, if they were to give most of those third down snaps to one of them in a Dak Prescott-led offense, tons of pass attempts, where you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got Jake Ferguson, you're really searching for that third target. Maybe it's Jalen Tolbert. Maybe it's Kevontae Turpin. Maybe it's whoever the running back is.
Maybe it's
a role.
Maybe it's Matthew Golden. Ooh,
sure. I mean, they could draft a running back too. Like that's definitely
a receiver.
Or draft. Or I mean, well, I will say that like, whatever running back they draft could be that third target too, just as easily as a wide receiver. You're right. So I think he's intriguing, like especially Williams, but I think so is Miles Sanders. So they're guys that I think you want to cheaply pick up in startups. They might be. I mean, they'd be almost free in startups. So those are guys that could get more opportunity than we're expecting. Again, a rookie totally changes all that, though. Any other running backs you wanted to talk about?
Next on the list was Ty Johnson. I know he's not a big name, but I just do want to point out that there was only 4 or 5 running backs last year that had over 5 yards per carry. I believe it was Barkley, Derrick Henry, Gibbs. But one of them was Ty Johnson.
Yeah, he had a lot of explosive, like big, like whether it was explosive catches or explosive runs for the Bills. Yeah, definitely. He played a role.
Definitely not a guy you want to target or put on any of your teams.
I mean, I'd still rather roster Ray Davis, right? Because Ray Davis projects to be the guy. If Cook goes out, Davis is going to get most of the carries. Johnson's got a constant role on that team, but I don't think it changes if the starter gets hurt. I mean, it would change in theory if like Cook and Davis both get hurt. Then Johnson probably has a lot bigger role, but they probably want to keep Johnson. We're going to limit his touches so that he's going to be explosive every time he touches the ball. We don't want to overtax him. Like Davis to me is still the backup that you want, still on a rookie contract too. Who knows? Cook's entering the final year of his rookie contract, so we'll see what happens there.
And I do like the Kenneth Gainwell to Pittsburgh, just because if something happens to Jaylen Warren, he's the perfect replacement for Jaylen Warren.
And if they like the split they did last year, Warren and another guy instead of Warren and Harris, and they really want to split things, like Gainwell's a really good, talented running back. Like he could be someone that also gets
I've been holding on to him since his rookie season, waiting for him to break out, and I just kind of just gave up on him last year. But in Pittsburgh, the way I see them using Warren, I could see them using Gainwell the same way if something happens to Warren.
All right. Has something happened to the running back positions where we skipped all the rest of them and go to tight ends?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Tight end contracts. So the big one was Evan Ingram signing a 2-year, $23 million contract with the Denver Broncos. They didn't really have an established tight end last year. I mean,
when was the last time they actually had an established tight end?
I mean, they've got a guy who could even contend to be the top target on the team.
No, not the top. No, he'll be the second.
Well, again, if you had to tell me to guess right now, I would guess it's Sutton. But I think Ingram gets close enough that.
Well, the thing is, so last year Sutton had 130, 35 targets, and the guy below him was Javonte Williams, we just talked about, at 70. So he got literally half the targets that Sutton got. Ingram's going to come in. He's going to get way over 100 targets.
I mean, he's commanded 100 targets in the past from multiple teams too, different quarterbacks. You got to think Bo Nix.
The thing is, after Sutton being number 1 and Javonte being number 2, number 3 is I couldn't even tell you who the third target was because there was 9. There was 9 of them. There was
it was Devon Vele, but Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims were within three targets of him. So yeah, to your point, it's very crowded. Ingram, projects those are going to be the top 2. I guess my one thing with Sutton though, last year was a career high in targets. So is he going to repeat 135 2 years in a row? Maybe because he has the same quarterback. He's also a year older. I think he's getting to 29, 30 years old. So at some point, he's going to take a step back. Like I said, Jamie, you have to tell me right now who would think it leads the Broncos in targets. I think it's Sutton, but I don't think it's a for sure thing. I think Ingram has been enough of a target earner over his career that he could get really close.
Oh, I agree. Last year, Ingram only had 60, 70 targets.
He missed a lot of games though.
He did. Yeah. He had a 25% target share.
Yeah.
So I can
see Brock Bowers numbers.
I can see Sutton and Ingram both getting 25% target share. That's half the targets. Spread the rest around.
This looks like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, what we were expecting from them anyway. At least
people right now I've heard they're saying, oh, Ingram's gonna get that Joker role. Well, we don't know that yet because what if the Broncos?
I think that's a bad thing to hear that because to me the Joker role is a good NFL role, but not very fantasy relevant role. You just want him out there running routes every time. No Joker. Don't mess around with all this creativity. So that I guess if anything, Jamie, hearing that makes me think, okay, yeah, you definitely want Sutton then they're going to be like messing around with Ingram in different roles. Like, it's the Joker, meaning he doesn't always line up as a tight end. He lines up as a wide receiver sometimes. That could really help too. But I mean, I think it's a big win for Bo Nix, who I maintain should be ranked as a top 10 quarterback in Dynasty. Because this gives him a solid second target. And I think it really helps open up the offense. Like we always say, a tight end's a rookie's best friend. Well, don't tell Bo Nix that, because man, you talk about the Broncos targets. Like, which tight end had the most targets last year? Like, this was down the list. I'm pulling up their targets now, but Lucas Kroll had 23 targets for 8th on the team. You had 2 running backs with more targets than the top tight end. Little Jordan Humphreys had more targets than the tight end on the Broncos. Like, that's not going to be the case this year. I think it's definitely going to help Bo Nix. Should Bo Nix be ahead of CJ Stroud?
I have Bo Nix way ahead of CJ Stroud. That's obvious. But I do want to mention that I was talking about the Joker role. Right now, the Broncos do not have a running back.
Well, they have Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin.
Oh, come on now.
Well,
come on. A grinder and a satellite back. They don't have an all-purpose back. So
certainly they could draft a running back. Yeah, definitely.
Well, what if they draft a guy like Travion Henderson? That would be the perfect guy for that Joker role. Put Travion Henderson in that backfield, and we know Sean Payton loves those type of running backs as their Joker. We've seen it in the past.
Yeah, Kamara might be the most shining example of that.
Mm-hmm. So, I think Ingram's going to be like 100, between 100 and 120 targets. Sutton's going to be the same. Like, they're going to split, and then the rest of it can go to Marvin Mims. People are rising on Marvin Mims right now, playing that flanker. I know, like, Vele. Like, I'd rather have Marvin Mims over Vele.
The second rounder, it seemed like he was starting to come on late in the season. I get you. I think I would too. I think the thing with Ingram is if he gets 100 targets, this will be the 4th different quarterback that he's done that with. He did it with Eli Manning, did it with Daniel Jones, did it with Trevor Lawrence. So he's had multiple quarterbacks, rely on him pretty heavily for targets. So it does feel like Bo Nix is about to do that too.
Yeah, I love Bo Nix.
We've gone an hour and 17 minutes. We haven't mentioned the dude on the thumbnail.
Oh no, who was that?
Juwan Johnson, re-signing with the New Orleans Saints, a 3-year, $30.75 million contract, the biggest signed by a tight end this year. Sean Payton's former team. So there's the connection there. I think he maintains his role as the starting tight end, although that's a team where the starting tight end gets shifted out more. Like, the backups tend to play more snaps than you'd like. But they're also kind of deprived of targets. Like, Brandon Cooks has returned to the Saints. So that's maybe a guy to get targets. Even though they paid, I mean, not per year. Per year, Ingram got more money than Johnson, but Johnson got the 3-year contract. But still would definitely rather have Ingram in Dynasty. And even the next guy, Mike Gesicki, also a 3-year deal, only $25.5 million. So 8.5 per year. Him in that offensive situation with the Bengals, I'd rather have that tight end than the Saints tight end. I do like Juwan Johnson, but there's enough vulturing that goes on there. That's a very low floor tight end. I mean, most tight ends are low floor, but the Saints tight ends especially feel like they're a 0 for a floor almost any given.
Like, how much can we be excited about Juwan Johnson?
The thumbnail image is probably the most exciting thing about him.
Exactly. Like, I don't see him being able to, like, if you're in a redraft league, when are you going to put this guy in your lineup? Probably never.
Okay, this is the scenario where you put him in your lineup, Jamie. You wait till the last round of your redraft league to take a tight end, and he's the guy you take. You play him week 1, and you see what happens. If he's getting targets, you keep going. If someone on the waiver wire is getting more targets than him, though, drop him and get that other guy. Like, that's, to me, that's the redraft tight end strategy, which is all the redraft we're going to talk about here in the Dynasty Six Pack.
Yeah. So, I'm out on Juwan Johnson. I can't put him on my rosters right now.
That's fine.
I
think that he's not a highly coveted guy that he's cheap to acquire. That's the only advantage. Like if you're punting tight end, he's an option. But if you're not punting tight end, he's like you said, you've probably got a better starter.
Honestly, I think Juwan Johnson's a guy that I want to actually drop just to make room for these upcoming rookies. Like I'd rather have Gaskin, even the guys last year, Dale Johnson. I'd rather have Sanders.
Oh, for sure, Sanders. Yeah, it seemed like before he got injured last year, he was starting to get a connection with Bryce Young, and then he just returned so poorly from injury that he did nothing the rest of the year. Assuming Sanders is healthy, definitely.
And there's like the Ben Sinats of the world, and
there's going to be several rookies, like you said. I'm going to probably go at least to 5-6 rookie tight ends. I'm going to want. So I'm looking at my rankings. I actually do have Theo Johnson lower. I believe Theo Johnson tore his ACL last year, so I love the Canadian kid, but the injury is enough to give me pause.
Man, that's tough because I have so much Theo Johnson right now because I'm Mr. Athletic Profile, obviously.
Oh, sure. Great RAS score. He was so cheap to get last year.
Yeah,
for sure. No, it was definitely someone I have some shares of too, but
I'd rather have like a Ben Sinat over like even Ben Sinat. He's going to be behind. What's his name?
Well, that's the next guy I was going to talk about. Zach Ertz re-signed a 1 year, $6.25 million deal. John Bates signed a 3-year, $21 million contract. So he's got two guys behind him. So I don't know. Ben is not for me.
I still like Ben Sinat's profile. I love his talent. And
decent routes too, yeah, for sure. I like him too.
I can see the situation where
love his quarterback. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But just like a couple years ago when Zach Ertz was ahead of Trey McBride, didn't do much. Trey McBride wasn't anything. You can get him cheap. But now Trey McBride's a top 2
QB2 in Dynasty, yeah.
Exactly. So I can see Sinat. I don't think Sinat's talented enough to be a top 5, but he can jump into the top 10, top 12. I can see a scenario where like Zach Ertz just is getting old and gets hurt.
Oh, he's gotten old. Zach Ertz.
Exactly.
Zach Ertz was an old man even when he was young, based on the way he played the game. Just no yak whatsoever. Like, not a great Raz guy. So he's probably someone you haven't had a ton of in his career. Even in his peak, he was barely getting any yak. And
I do like Zach Ertz and best ball leagues very, very late, but in Dynasty, I am not touching Zach Ertz. I'd rather have Sinat.
I think I've sold all Dynasty Zach Ertz shares last year and didn't necessarily want to reinvest. I think he's a good redraft guy. Like, to me, I was touting him last year as like he should be a top 15, top 12 tight end in redraft, and certainly that's where he finished. And you could easily get him there in almost every draft. It feels like it's going to be the same thing this year. He's going to again be undervalued in redraft, but yeah, not much. I've got him inside the top 15 in Dynasty just because he's going to get receptions. But especially once the rookies get drafted and we see them go to good spots, that's probably going to change. 14 probably is too high now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's way, way too high. We're talking about Zach Ertz, right?
I don't really like any tight ends, right? I think all of them suck. No, but you're right. I think.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down my spreadsheet, and I'm not even seeing Zach Ertz on my list. Maybe I just forgot about him.
I guess I still kind of view him
53. Tight end 53.
Okay. I feel like that's a bit of an example.
That seems that does seem way too low.
I feel like
honestly, as a starter,
I'm probably way too high. You're probably way too low. There's going to be a middle ground. We'll figure it out eventually. I have Sinat at
38, so maybe I should put Zach Ertz right around that area, just because he is.
I guess we're not that different in rankings. Sinat. I think I've got him at 44. So there's one other tight end that might be a starter, although. Will Dissly is still on the team, but Ty Conklin signed with the Chargers, which is kind of a
saw that. Yes.
So yeah, definitely some positive news for Conklin there. I mean, yeah, he's someone I had him at 71 because he was a free agent, so I definitely have to change that ranking now. I think tight ends are ranking one where I gotta maybe adjust a little better. I'll get there eventually. But yeah, I mean, who do you think's the starter right now between Disley and Conklin?
It's going to be Conklin. Conklin has showed in the past that he could get 100 targets a season, and who's to say that
Has he?
Yeah, he's got. I remember.
He had okay. So here's the thing: he had 3 straight years of exactly 87 targets. That is so weird. That's
Was
like
it 87? Okay,
87, 3 years in a row, and that was with Minnesota, and then 2 years with the Jets. That is wild. 87 exactly on the dot, and then 72 last year. But yeah, I don't think he's got the 100 target.
No, okay.
Now
I overspoke.
I mean, the quality of play he got from Rodgers last year wasn't great. Like this is probably going to be the best QB play he's ever gotten.
Well, the thing is, who's to say that they don't draft a tight end?
It's like running backs, right? No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the money they gave him, 1 year, $3 million. That's not saying you're our franchise guy. So no, it definitely could happen.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 years old when the season starts.
Do you think you should sell him right now? Should we be selling Conklin based on the fact that he just signed with the Chargers?
Yes, sell because
before the draft. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Jamie.
Yep. Pretend that he's going to be the starter. Sell him because you said 87 targets is the ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Herbert helps him unlock a better ceiling because of just, again, pass volume from Herbert and quality of targets.
Well, that's just going to take away from McConkey, and I still
87 is tough to match, especially if Disley being there, right? Like the tight ends will probably combine for like 140, 150 targets between the two of them, but like it might be an even 50-50 split too. I mean, heck, Disley might still be the starter. I mean, he had some really good games last year with Herbert, and Conklin's just coming in as insurance policy too. I don't quite know how I've fleshed out that situation, but yeah, actually, you know what, JV? Yeah, Ty Conklin might be the biggest sell. If you're going to take anything away, we're an hour and a half in. So if anyone who's had the endurance to stay this long, that's the takeaway. Sell Ty Conklin, I guess.
Hell yeah, 100% sell him.
Well, we're talking trades. Jamie, is it time for trades of the week?
Yeah, we got 2 going on today. Let's do it.
Yeah, so just want to shout out in the YouTube comments, we featured their trade in the previous episode, and sure enough, generous enough to grace us with again. Dynasty FF 777.
Yeah, this dude is active in our chats. So if you have any questions after the show, post them. Me and Kyle will both go in there and we'll just give our opinions and chat it up, and we'll bring it up on the show.
Yeah. So a few things were mentioned. They were talking about their bench, and they were kind of like a few trade ideas that they might want to go. Like, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? I think we answered those pretty well. The one that really stood out to me, though, was because before we decided to go with his trades, I'd already kind of planned for what's going to be our second trade in the trade of the week section. So we're going to post this. The first trade of the week is a 10-team league. Start 10, super flex with half point per reception. Tight ends get a full point per reception. So it's a half point tight end bonus. So they're getting double. On one side, we have 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. On the other side, we have a 26-second and a 27-second. That's the key, 26-second and 27-second. Remember that, folks. Jamie, on the surface, what did you think when this was something that they mentioned they were thinking of sending out this offer? Should Brandon Ayuk, essentially asking, should they go buy Brandon Ayuk for this?
So what my first thought was, are these seconds going to be late, early, mid? I believe you said mid to late.
I'm interpreting that these are his own picks. So if his team's competitive, expect them to be late.
Yeah, he said it was going to be mid to late. So
that tells me he's planning to compete. Like he's planning to go in for it and not be tanking. Like he's trying to make the playoffs. And
so if you were going to compete and you weren't trying to tank, I would want someone besides Brandon Ayuk, because Brandon Ayuk's coming off of an injury. I expect Juwan Jennings still kind of get his 100 to 120 targets. Pearsall is going to step up. I think he only got like 40 to 50 targets last year. I expect him to go up a little bit. Yeah, they got rid of Debo. But Ayuk coming off that injury, I'm not loving it. If I was going to give up 2 late seconds, I would rather have a guy that I could put into my lineup and be like, this guy is going to get me at least top 30 wide receiver production.
And I also think if I want to do this, I don't want to do this right now. Like, I don't want, if the 26 second and 27 second, if I'm going to turn that into a player at some point this year, I'd rather wait till even in season to do this trade. Because
the
one context mentioned, because this is all based on a question, he was asked about his bench. He's got Brian Robinson, Tony Pollard, David Njoku on the bench from other positions. Then he was mentioning some of the wide receivers. Jaden Reed and Khalil Shakir are on the bench, not even starters. So it seems like he's got wide receiver depth. You don't need to trade for more wide receiver depth now, especially for guys that's injured.
Yeah. Khalil Shakir is a starter, in my opinion.
But that also tells me if these guys are on his bench, he probably has a good team.
Yeah.
So to that point, these picks will be late. Maybe they're already viewed as these picks aren't as valuable because his team is so good. But I don't know. I think I'd rather almost sell them separately. Like, I'm only selling one at a time, and I'm not getting as great a player, but that gives me, like, I'm going to buy 2 players that give me 2 extra shots. But again, I don't want to have to name those players right now. I don't want to have to decide right now for it to be Brandon Ayuk. If his team is pretty solid, he probably doesn't need the player right now to help win games. He can, start through the season. And if it seems like things are really going well and you want a second piece to add over the top, throw some of these players in. And I think the one hesitation, I think I mentioned it to him in the comments, having Rashid Shaheed, that was the one guy I didn't mention yet. Having him already, that's another guy coming off a torn ACL. How much does he play? I don't want to suddenly add another torn ACL guy onto the same team. Like, if this was Shaheed in 1 second for Ayuk, that probably makes a lot more sense. If it's, I know one thing they mentioned, trying to add the 207 this year to Shaheed to go get like Josh Downs, like not projected. I like those types of moves. If anything, I think before trading for Ayuk, I think I'd want to sell Shaheed first, but this might not be a good time to sell Shaheed. This might be something that once he returns in season, add Shaheed to this 20 second, or this 26 second, or the 27 second. That's how you go buy a different receiver. Maybe it's Ayuk if he's recovered. Maybe it's someone else. But I don't want to Brandon Ayuk as the player right now. I mean, this 27 second is over 2 years away from being selected. Like, I don't want to get that pick already to a guy, especially a guy coming off a 20.
Yeah, 100% agree. Value-wise, I see this kind of being an even type of trade, but like with your roster, I wouldn't go out and buy Ayuk right now. I think you can get him cheaper in middle of the season.
If he doesn't start right from the get-go.
Yeah, because you can just trade one second rounder.
If he still hasn't played a game and someone's holding him on a roster spot, maybe on an IR spot to be fair, might want to get out for him for 1 second.
Yeah, so that 2 seconds is an overpay, in my opinion.
And I think this wasn't necessarily, this isn't an offer he got. I'm thinking of maybe sending out this offer. So
yeah,
we don't even know if it costs 2 seconds. It might even cost less right now, but certainly maybe later in the offseason.
I believe it was 2 years ago, Ayuk was worth a late first. And I thought that wasn't a massive overpay for him because I
bought him off you in our Dynasty League.
Yeah, you did.
Last offseason.
Yep, because I wanted to get rid of him. I didn't like him.
When he was really smart of you.
When he was drafted in what year was he drafted? 2020.
He was the 20 draft. Yeah, he was we expected Jefferson and Lamb to go in the first. He was the surprising first round.
So when he was drafted, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be bad. I called him Brandon Ayuk. So I just didn't want anything to do with it.
It's funny. Everyone's given nickname for him with I think Ayukin. I think it's from Karate Kid reference.
Ayukin's Street Fighter.
Oh, Street Fighter. Okay. Combat, right?
But
Like,
no,
I was the one everyone was making the reference last year. I Puke is much more original, so good job.
Yep. I puke is like, I don't want nothing to do with this guy. It's gonna make you puke.
All right, so yeah, so again, the idea of the 2 trades was because these trades are connected. The fact that there are 2 second-round picks, a 26 and a 22nd. I said, pay attention, because voila, another trade, a 14-team start 11 superflex PPR.
Ooh.
The tight end's getting 1.75. On one side, there is a 26 and a 27 second. So this is interesting that when the offer for Ayuk was mentioned in the chat, I kind of connected to this trade. And so one side, Tucker Kraft, go Pack go. On the other side, Greg Dulcich, a 26 second and a 27 second. I will let you know, Jamie, I was involved in this trade, so I'm going to recluse myself. I want to get your thoughts, and then I'll add the context afterwards to see.
All right, so
context to start.
Tight end premium. Man, you're trying to get Tucker Kraft. I love Tucker Kraft. You're not gonna get a tight end as high as Tucker Kraft with these late second picks. I'm assuming they're gonna be late because it's your team and you're trying to compete.
I didn't say which team I was on.
I'm just saying, like, I'm assuming you want Tucker Kraft. So this is the fair value. I don't hate it.
So I'm gonna let you know, I sold Tucker Kraft for this actually.
Oh. So
yeah, and I was approached. Like the other manager initiated the first offer, wanting to buy Tucker Kraft. I think they did it for like they wanted to sell one of the picks this year, which was I think it was 208, whatever, 29, and might have even been the 27 second. And I really wanted their 26 second because they're the 102 slot and they don't have their own first this year. So a bad team that isn't necessarily going to get better.
So it's a bad team, and they're selling seconds.
I actually trying to get to be a better team, I guess, right? Is kind of the point. And so, and in other context, I mean, Tucker Kraft, I'm pretty sure, like, he was one of my tight end targets 2 years ago. I didn't have any Laporta in Dynasty, or certainly no Musgrave, because my thought was, my argument I made a lot of, give me Kraft in the 4th round or as a waiver wire pickup afterwards, and I believe that's exactly what this was. I'm pretty sure I picked him up even in a 14-team rookie draft. I think actually might have been a 4th round pick. Just slipped to the end of the 4th, and I've just turned him into 2 seconds. And Greg Dulcich is just to get a body at tight end.
Dulcich is a drop right now. That dude's only 17% owned, maybe even 10% owned.
Yeah, I mean that was just give me a body at tight end, right? A tight end premium league, like I'll just take a tight end back.
Honestly, I don't even think Dulcich is on this team right now. I couldn't tell you what team.
Yeah, he might not be. Like, he matters so little to the value, but it's getting the 2 seconds. And here's more context for you, Jamie. I don't have my first this year. I don't have my first next year. But this trade, I think it gave me my 4th second in the draft next year. So while I don't have my first, I've got that second draft capital to kind of make things happen, or at least hopefully make things happen.
Who are your other tight ends in this league? So
Dalton Schultz is going to be my principal tight end.
Oof, that's tough.
Luke Schoonmaker and Foster Moreau are the other tight ends.
Oh, you have no one on your taxi squad like Kate Stover?
We do not have a taxi squad in this league.
Oh, that's tough.
Shout out to the Dynasty Trades in 5 OG League. Yeah, Clay made it. No taxi squad.
So basically, you selling Kraft, you need to target a tight end this year with your second pick, second round pick, right?
I don't have any picks this year, Jamie. I
don't have
all my picks. The first picks that come up on my list are the 426 seconds.
I don't know if I would have done that. That's tough because I do love the value of getting those 2 seconds for Kraft, especially if the guy's not going to compete and they're going to be earlier.
I really wanted his 26 second because, not only does it give me the cluster of seconds together, but Like his is probably going to be the earliest. So I was
So
really pushing for that 26 second.
I view Tucker Kraft in that Evan Ingram range this year.
See, I don't, because he's not a target earner like Ingram.
That's tough.
Maybe I'm a little, admittedly, probably lower than consensus on Kraft in spite of my Packers fandom, which is a good lesson to the folks. Like I'm wearing the Packers hat because I knew we were going to talk about Tucker Kraft today. But in spite of whatever color jersey I love to wear, I'm not gonna hesitate to trade him if I think it was the right move. And I thought it was the right move. And it's interesting that, again, like we're talking about two different leagues here, right? We've got this as a 14-team tight end premium league, and we've got a 10-team tight end premium league with the other one in the Ayuk. And it's interesting that the 26 second and 27 second combining together and we're involved in both trades. So just interesting comparison. Like now that we've looked at both trades, like what do you think comparing both of them and seeing the similarities, but also the differences based on a tight end in one, a wide receiver in the other, but also the league sizes, especially 10-team versus 14-team.
Yeah, league size has everything to do with it. I'm in a 32-team league, and people keep sending me their first-round pick for a guy, and I'm like, dude, it's gonna be like a 28th, 29th pick in the draft. Why would I send this for essentially a third-round pick? But no, I kind of like your trade better because the Kraft.
Well, I will say I like the pick side regardless. May as well keep this up. Actually, I would take the picks. Clearly, I took the picks in the one I made, selling away Kraft. And I would take the 2 picks for Ayuk here.
Well, I would take the picks in the Ayuk trade, but honestly, I would probably take Kraft. Well, depending on your team. That's what's tough about it. Like,
I've come so close to play. Jamie, I'm like 2 or 3 years in a row. I'm the first team out of the playoffs. Like I almost make it. I just miss out. And so part of me is thinking like,
So if you almost make it, but you just give away your top 12 tight end, now you're gonna be like, oh, I'm not even close to making it.
Yeah.
But 3 years from now. 2 years from now, that's when you're gonna be like, yeah, now I have these second round picks. I have my own first. I'm going to make it. So you're sacrificing this year for a championship 2 years from now.
That's the hope, right? What I've been doing the last couple of years hasn't been working. So even though Kraft's a young piece, let me get some flexibility, some liquidity. 4 picks in that second round, I could still make other moves to even get more, but I feel like there's strength in the numbers of the picks. If I have 4 second-round picks in next year's rookie draft, like that makes each of them kind of more powerful. They're more scarce assets. So I was also kind of thinking I'm trying to hoard those second-rounders. I don't know if that helps.
How many players you start in the lineup?
So this is start 11.
Start 11. Okay.
14 teams start 11.
That makes it even better for you because
getting to 3 assets, even though Dalton really doesn't count. But
yeah. So start anything past start 10. I'd rather kind of
you want to do the
multiple
sides as opposed to the one better asset as much as you can, for sure. Now in the other league, again, 10 teams start 10. That is shallow enough where you might default to the better asset, but also because it's 10 team, the floor of those picks is higher. Like either of those picks, the worst they could possibly be is the 20th overall pick in that draft. Whereas you look at the other, like in the league I'm in, like that 27 second, if this guy turns his team around in 2 years, that 27 second, I mean, it could be as bad as the 28th pick. That's a big difference between the 28th pick and the 20th pick. So I think, and that's why I also like the picks for, not selling his picks if you're 777. Should I just call them sevens, like 5s from Clone Wars?
That's kind of confusing because when you say that, like my name is Big Game James 777. So
am I ever going to call you sevens? Am I ever going to call you sevens, Jamie?
Oh yeah, good point. You're not.
So sevens. We're going with sevens. That's his new nickname, so I don't have to say it all the time. But in this perspective, I think sevens should keep their picks because again, the lesser teams, even if they might be later, I think. The reason I like the picks in the other one is, especially that 26 second, that I think projects to be pretty early right now.
Yeah, and then you could use one of those seconds, add it with another guy, and move up to a better asset.
Yeah, I
Do
think
it-
that's
do
going
it
to be
2
the
for
plan
1.
too. Is having those 4 picks is also 4 very good tradable assets. I'm not planning to get to 2026 rookie draft and make all 4 of those picks. I am at some point trying to trade. Maybe I trade them in season. Maybe my team does well enough. Losing Kraft doesn't hurt me, and I can use those in season to help me get better players and contend too. So the flexibility again is I don't have to declare it being Tucker Kraft right now. I can wait and give myself the flexibility, and especially for Seven's trade, you don't have to declare it Brandon Ayuk right now. You can give that flexibility. So
And
just
what's
again, sorry, Jimmy.
what's to say Muscraft isn't going to come in and start dominating?
He had a better target share year 1 than Kraft. Kraft did reverse last year. Musgrave was hurt for a lot of it, but it could just as easily swing back, and Musgrave is the tight end 1 next year. And I think that's also the fact. I think we're still ranking Tucker Kraft ahead of Musgrave. I mean, you certainly are.
Definitely, yeah.
But that risk exists where it could swing back to Musgrave's favor. But yeah, So the first time we've done 2 trades in trade of the week, but again, the comparison of those 26 seconds makes it so we did go for 2. And no kickers. We didn't talk about a single kicker today, so that's great, Jamie. We're gonna kick on out of here, though. We did run pretty long, a lot of players to talk about, but super fun time always talking with you, Dynasty.
Yeah, definitely love coming on the Dynasty Six Pack. Love talking Dynasty. We could next week we got Rahul coming back.
Coming back just in time for rookie season because we are really going to dive into the rookies for the next month. So be sure to join us for that. Like you mentioned earlier, there's the Fantasy Six Pack website, fantasy6pack.com. Lots of great articles and resources for all sorts of fantasy sports, really, not just fantasy football.
Yeah, we got Discord.
Yeah, exactly. There's different tiers to the Discord too. So certain tiers give you different access to different spots, different channels, different access to the Fantasy Six Pack staff as well. And we've got the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, which is where we're broadcasting from. So appreciate everyone who's watching. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever you're listening to your audio podcast as well. Like the video. Next week hopefully gets a lot of live comments as we talk about rookies. I'm at Senra Says. Jamie's at Jamie Perog. But of course, we're at here every Wednesday for the Dynasty Six Pack here on the Fantasy Six Pack Network. So, Jamie, love talking with you. We'll talk next week. It'll be our first rookie episode of the podcast, so that's exciting.
You know me, I love my rookies.
Yep, we're going to start with rookie running backs. Of course, everyone wants to start with rookie running backs this year. That's probably how rookie drafts are going to be starting. But we're not talking about the starting. We're unfortunately talking about the end of the episode. So goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next week for another episode of Dynasty Six Pack.